good God, DJ, 34-7. Biggest takeaway from that loss?
They were outcoached. I think in every, it all starts with the coaching and staff. They didn't have good answers against Brian Flores' defense. D'Amico didn't have, outside of the second quarter, didn't have really good answers to slow down Kevin O'Connell's passing attack. Because it wasn't like Sam Darnold really let them up. Like, he had obviously 4 touchdowns, but he threw for under 200 yards. It was more situationally, whether it's when to call the right play action, using D'Amico's tendencies against him. Because there was a lot of easy throws that Sam got to have because Kevin was calling plays when he knew specifically on early downs what D'Amico was going to be in. And he knows on third downs, D'Amico is going to play some variation of man coverage or zone where it becomes match or cover 4. And he was able to consistently exploit it for the most part. So I would say they completely got out-coached from the top down. Like, I know everybody wants to talk about like the offensive line, Laremy, Titus, et cetera, et cetera. But it starts with Bobby. Like, since week 1, let's take week 1 out of it. Week 2 and 3, they're averaging 3.5 yards whenever they see a light box. CJ Stroud's seeing the 3rd highest split safety look pre-snap, basically too high.
The cover 2.
Not necessarily cover 2. It's just because you can run a bunch of coverages from a too high look. It's just pre-snap, having the light boxes, things of that nature, what they're running. Again, it could be a bunch of stuff, but the Texans right now are seeing light boxes a lot, and they're averaging 3.5 yards per carry. I think it's like 53 yards on 15 carries.
It's bad.
Yeah, so like
even without Joe Mixon,
right,
it's unexcusable. I mean,
right.
you can't have that. And to what you're saying about Slowick, I'm glad we started with that. Bobby Slowick was getting way too much praise this offseason.
Yeah, I agree.
He's in a great situation with the young quarterback, and I'm not saying he's a bad coordinator.
He's not
by
a bad
any
coordinator by any means.
I don't know what a good coordinator is. I don't know what a great coordinator is, though. I mean, I don't know if you're a byproduct of the quarterback that you have. What I do know about Bobby Slowick is that after the game, I thought it was really interesting that CJ Stroud said of what the Vikings defense threw at the Texans. They didn't throw us anything that we weren't expecting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well then what the hell was up with the offense? If you knew that was coming, why was that the output? Why didn't it ever change? Why was it such a struggle to make anything happen?
Well, I would say, when teams do go too high look, right? I think the Vikings had had like a too high safety look on 27 plays.
Okay.
I'm not entirely too sure what.
So I'm guessing around half or something.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure how many plays the Texans had in total. But one of the biggest issues, and it's been an issue from week 1 all the way to now, is the interior offensive line can't pick up stunts like at all. Like, teams are attacking Juice and team are attacking Kenyon Green, right? Because when they do one-on-ones, and they just rush normally, guys aren't really getting past. Guys, for the most part, but when they go stunts, the majority of the sacks, if you take away Cade sack, and I think Schultz might have given up a sack also, but if you take away those 2 sacks, the majority of the sacks throughout the year have been off of stunts, and they're struggling to pick them up. And I think that's a way bigger issue than anything when it comes to like being able to throw the football again. Because again, like when you see a too high safety look, you need time. It's going to take like there's voids, but you need time to get there. But what teams are doing is when they go too high, whether they're going cover 2, cover 4, cover 6, which is quarter half. They are sending stunts.
Okay,
because they and those guys are coming in scot-free. It's not like guys are. It's taking a while for the stunts to get in there. They're getting it's like downset height. She hits his back foot. There's a guy coming right through, right up the middle. You know what I'm saying?
That's pretty crazy because for those who don't know, stunts basically is the defensive lineman, instead of running straight upfield into the gap where it is directly across from him, he's going, a roundabout way. Mm-hmm. The fact that they are getting there that quickly and that they are running stunts is surprising. Because honestly, you would think that this is just them running straight through those interior offensive linemen.
Right. So, I mean, again, like, I just They got to get that fixed.
Is that more on the players or whatever offensive line Slowick wants to work? Because obviously, as a scheme, you're going to do certain things when you're blocking for the run. You're going to do certain things when you're in pass protection too. Is it something that's perhaps more on Slowick than the players?
That's a good question. Right now, I'm going to say a combination of both. When I talk to more people, then I'll have a better feeling. But I'm going to just go right now with it's a combination right now. I think that's the biggest issue. The interior offensive line, and that was one of my biggest concerns coming into the season. The interior offensive line is not good right now. It's a problem. It's going to prevent the Texans from doing from reaching any type of expectation that they have this year. Because even when they try to run the ball, again, like they'll see light boxes and they can't run the ball. They have the second lowest success rate in week 2 and 3 against a light box. Okay, mainly, again, like for whatever reason, I'm not too sure why. It's on them to fix it. But anytime defensive lines slant inwards on obvious rundowns, they can't block it. They just flat out can't block it because, you usually have one of the tackles instead of Juice and Shaq or Juice and, Kenyon Green working to the D tackle right next to Kenyon Green. They both double team and they're moving up to the second level. The D tackle was either immediately crossing Juice's face, and it throws off the whole, I guess, marriage of how they want to outside zone block. And the Bears did it in week 2. The Vikings did it a decent amount, which is why you saw all those plays where you'll see Jonathan Gennard slip in there immediately, and Cam had the double spin. But again, like for whatever reason, whenever teams slant in, and I'm not too sure why, they can't block it up. And so I think that starts with Bobby, right? That starts with the O-line coach. And whatever they're coaching these guys to do in those situations, they're not doing it. They'll try to counter and run power. And that, that's fine. They've had decent success, but not great success. You could throw on early downs.
That's a lot of people have been asking for that. I know Mina Kimes leading up to week 3, she had a little side rant, I think, before Monday Night Football.
She's been emotional on that.
She's emotional on that. It does feel like there are some people where they look at it as this religious movement as opposed to taking it on a down by down, game by game, matchup by matchup basis.
In that Bears game, like
it's a spreadsheet versus the actual football kind of look.
Going into the fourth quarter, they were like 50-50 on first downs.
That's what I thought. Yeah, I think ultimately it was like 5-2. So
like they ran the ball more in the fourth quarter on first downs because they're trying to ice the game.
Okay.
Yeah. So
but to go back to what you were saying, maybe throwing on earlier downs
because if you throw it on first down when they're slanting inwards, that basically nullifies their ability to rush the pass,
especially if you get it out quick.
Right, because everybody's going to be mushed on top of each other. Because really, when they try to pick offense, center, right? Because they're attacking Juice in that aspect. It basically becomes like a mosh pit. It's just all cause of junk, right? But when that happens, if you drop back the pass, now everybody's just on top of each other.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Another thing too, I would say Bobby has to so it's interesting because it's like, do you just try to run out of shotgun more so then you can still give yourself the threat of being able to throw it effectively, have like actual concepts? Because again, like, okay, you can throw on first down, but if you throw on first down, it's obviously gonna be throwing on first down. They're not going to do the slanting thing, right? But if let's say you're in 12 personnel and they do the slanting thing and you're trying to throw you want to throw the football, you're gonna have only 2 receivers, obviously 2 tight ends. You're going to have either Tank or Stephon off the field, right? And if let's say it's just, ace formation with 2 tight ends on each side, well, 1 tight end on each side, a typical 2x2, your concepts, it's not like you can do anything that crazy, right? So, like, they're going to have to figure out how to be able to run the ball when teams are slanting inwards, because everybody's going to just continue to copy it. Because, like, that's not something that I think that they can necessarily avoid by just throwing the football, okay? If let's say you get a shotgun and you want to gain 11% on throw the football, all right, they're probably not going to slant inwards.
Right.
You can try to run outside zone, which, again, that might be okay, but, now you kind of lose the threat of the play action and the boot stuff. So, like, in reality, they got to get that fixed up front, because if they can't do that, then that's going to stall out everything that they want to do.
Interesting. I feel a lot smarter with this little breakdown. They got to work on the stunts, but I'm going to dumb down the conversation. DJ Biename, Houston Texans beat reporter for ESPN, with me in studio. What the hell's up with Laremy Tunsil? And before we get into that, I'm going to, I don't know, DJ, if you saw this, but I'm going to read a quote from a Texans coach about Laremy Tunsil. Laremy, he's played very well, but he's had too many penalties. He would be the first to tell you that. I think nobody feels worse about that than him. He's a great guy. He's a great player, but we've got to fix it. Do you remember that coach saying that?
Who was that?
That was Bill O'Brien in 2019. And I mean, yesterday you heard D'Amico talk about it. He was really short when asked about Laremy Tunsil. He had time to look at the film. He said, Laramy's got to work on that. But I mean, this has been a Laremy Tunsil issue for much of his career. Early on with the Texans, he was saying he felt like he had a target on his back. He's been, I think, a little bit more polite with the way he worded it. You saw after the game how he says, hey, I mean, it's a communication thing. It's not on just me, but hey, man, it's 3 false starts. It's 2 illegal formations. Could have been 3 illegal formations. And it's one of those things, too, where I do think he's a really good tackle, but I also think this is a guy that has been looking for every single edge he can over the course of his career. And he's talking about how the referees are singling him out. Well, shouldn't they single him out if he's somebody that is constantly false starting or perhaps lining a little bit off the offensive line? Like, wouldn't that make you a likely target going into a game for perhaps extra set of eyes on you?
Well, I would say the false start thing, obviously, that's something you just got to, get a handle on. It's just basically him trying to time the snap. Yeah, because Lane does it, Trent Williams do it, then they don't get called for it often. So that's from, when we've talked, that's been his reasoning, is that, they don't get called for it, So
but they should. Just a side note, they should. We make it so easy for offenses in the league. We do. Yeah. And that is cheating.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I think the illegal formation, I was watching Inside the Texan on KPRC with Randy, Adam, and Cody Stoops. Adam made a good point that that the crew they had on Sunday was the same crew. Now, I didn't double check this, so this is from Adam. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, he's wrong. That it was the same crew that reffed on Sunday Night Football to open the season,
which was very controversial.
Right.
With all the false starts, and formations. Right.
So like, I don't think legal formation. I don't think it's gonna be a problem for Laremy. The false starts, obviously, he has to kind of get a handle on that. I'm not too worried about Laremy. I think the reason why it got blown not out of proportion, but it got because his was the last false start on that one drive where they were in scoring range. His was the last one.
Yep.
Because it went from Juice to Titus to Laremy, right? Mm-hmm. So we always remember who was last. No one's talking about Juice having the false start that kind of threw everything out of whack.
And he also said, well, I didn't really know it was a false start. Dude, you bobbed your head.
Right. So again, everybody's talking about Laremy, but in that sequence, right? The guy that set it off was Juice and then Titus, but we're only talking about Laremy, which is fine, and I think
because it's more than that. I mean, we go into every single game waiting for it to happen. We know it's going to happen.
The false start, the false start's as I say, obviously, he got to get a handle on that. But for me, it's not that big of a deal, honestly. It's just that in that game, it blew everything out of proportion because you had basically 3 in a row that took you from the 25-yard line to the 40-yard line. Yeah. Now it's 3rd and 19 instead of you. Because again, I think that the criticism is fair because if they would have scored on that drive, whether field goal or not, right, and they would have scored on the next one where the 17-yard completion to Tank was taken away by the illegal formation. If they score on those 2 drives, it's a completely different game. Even if it's a touchdown of 2 field goals, because then they're going to have 14-6.
Yeah,
right? And it's a completely different game.
I totally agree. I totally agree.
Yeah.
And I think we're on mostly the same page.
Yeah, we are.
But I think there's a lot of Texas fans that are just sick of this, and it's and the 5 penalties in one game is going to magnify, I think, more than the last penalty.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it does. I think what really bothers me coming out of it is, Tunsil's a good guy. I'm not wishing him to fail or anything like that, but it does annoy me to read it and say oh, it's a team thing. It's no, dude, you've been doing this your whole career. It's you can fess up and even say yeah, I get called for a lot of false starts. I mean, it happens.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I'd feel better about that than saying like, oh, it's a communication thing. Because, we've seen other players like this before. Jadeveon Clowney, when he was here, one offsides a game. Same thing. Before him, Antonio Smith. Like, there are certain players, they just do it. And you expect it.
Right.
But I'd almost be more understanding. I'd show more empathy if they were just like, yeah, I mean, that's me.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think the criticism is fair. I think people are saying he should be benched. Or
that's insane. Like, that's
insane.
Else.
Like, I see people say, like, Dr. Barrett, he's like, oh, take the C off of his chest. Like, this isn't Pee Wee.
It'd be so dramatic.
Like, Dr. Barrett, he got some good tweets, but that one was like, come on, bro.
It would be really funny if they like took it off and they just leave the outline.
Yeah, like, come on. Like, this ain't Pee Wee. Like, that's not gonna change anything. Or people saying, like, what John McClain was like, bench Laremy Tunsil. Like, come on, bro. Like, what like, listen.
I don't want to see Michael Dieter out there.
Listen.
We already saw Cade Stover trying to block Jonathan Bernard off the blind side.
Blake Fisher is not ready to play.
I don't think so either.
Yeah, so like, you guys are stuck with Laremy. It is what it is. I do think that I just want to know, like, do Texas fans have something against Laremy? Because like it's almost it feels like he's public enemy number one sometimes.
I think it has to do with it's just a lot of things adding up. It's the perfect storm of he's highly paid. He doesn't show up for much of the offseason. And people are going to say, well, since he's not showing up to the offseason, this is why the false starts happen. That's a false equivalence. Yeah, I don't agree with that. But I also, I'm not standing in the way. I'm not. I'm watching that. I'm getting pissed off seeing it happen all the time. And I know, like, hey, they need him for CJ Stroud. But if it happens that much, I mean, and it doesn't seem like it's ever going to change, then you're just going to get more and more mad the more that it happens, because it doesn't feel like it's something he's going to correct, especially with that quote afterwards where he's saying like it's on all of us. Like, sure, there are other guys who false started, which you just brought up, but you got called for 3.
Yeah, I mean, he gets called for false starts.
He gets called for false starts a lot.
He gets called for false starts.
It is.
I mean, I think as much ado about nothing. Honestly, that's just me, because like in reality, like I do think that in the second quarter, those obviously were killers. Right?
Yeah,
and I'm not going to disagree with that. But like, I don't think it's that big of a deal when it comes to Laremy and penalties, because like again, like what he does on the field drastically outweighs the penalties. Like like it is. Like he does need to fix that. I'm not denying that. But what he does on the field is it completely like, because if he's not out there, the O-line, like, it's already a struggling O-line right now.
Yep.
Well, in terms of picking up stunts, but without Laremy, it could just fall off a cliff.
It could have been way worse. And I mean, look, that's the thing that's easiest to focus on in a 34-7 loss. But it was a 34-7 loss, and Sam Darnold threw for 4 touchdown passes on you. Like the Sam Darnold. And look, he's got talent, but I think he's White Jameis. I feel like he's got 3 or 4 dumb plays in him a game.
Yeah.
None of them in this game. And credit to Kevin O'Connell. What do you make of the Texans defense? They're getting after the passer, but this was finally a game where the run defense did not look like what we had seen the first 2 weeks. And on top of that, it felt like the Texans defense, from a playmaking perspective, it just never really was in a position. Justin Jefferson was always wide open. There was those 2 plays back-to-back or almost back-to-back where Jalen Petrie gets called for the PI. He's in the right spot. Can't make a play. Jimmy Ward in the end zone. He's in the right spot. Couldn't make a play.
Yeah, I wonder why they called a PI on Jalen Petrie on that one.
I didn't think it was PI.
I was looking at it today. I was just like, how's that PI?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
but at the same time, like, hey, that seems to be an issue with those 2 guys when it's coverage downfield. Like, there are moments where they struggle.
Right, that's fair. I think I think this game was one of those games just a perfect storm. Like
I hope so.
Everything that could go wrong did go wrong. Because think about it, like for the Vikings, there was a play when Sam Darnold got sacked and the ball went backwards and the running back picked it up and got 10 yards. You know what I'm saying?
That play was ridiculous.
Or like you have the trick play and you throw it down the field and like it's a phantom PI call and now you're on the one, or like the Texans are driving and then they get 3, false starts in a row, or like, you find a. Now I will say there were times where I felt like D'Amico trusts his safeties too much in their coverage, because the touchdown to Jimmy Ward like, and then Eric Murray.
Oh man, Eric Murray against Justin Jefferson.
Like you know what I'm saying? Like, how does that happen?
Yeah.
Like I felt like they should have went into it either having Derek Stingley follow or having Kamari follow and double team him. Because like all they have is Justin. Like, there's no Jordan Addison. All you have is Justin Jefferson. And like this is one of those games where like you can't let them get momentum. And yes, they scored on first drive, whatever. Like that's fine. But like we see teams all the time scoring the first drive and do nothing afterwards. Like, that's whatever. Go ahead.
Didn't they say, and so this is going back to last year, but I remember D'Amico Ryans was like, hey, like, we're not going to have Derek Stingley shadow anybody. And then they changed their stripes for the game against the Browns.
Yeah. And they did. The thing is, it'd be different if they didn't do it the week before with DJ Moore.
Yeah.
So for me,
but Jefferson's God,
yeah,
right? Like
so
Moore's good,
but again, like if you could do it for a guy not as good as Jefferson, why not do it for a guy that is Jefferson? You feel me?
Yeah.
Like that's my point. It's like,
so they should do it more.
If the team only has one legitimate, viable threat through the pass game you don't have to scheme him open. You take him away by any means necessary.
Yeah, no Jordan Addison, no TJ Hawkins.
Come on.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that seemed obvious. Because again, like all Kevin O'Connell was trying to do is get him in the slot. Or if we're going to throw the ball, let's throw the ball on early downs, play actions. And again, like there must have been like a tell on film that whenever somebody motions over to a side, if they're pressed up, the guy's going to back off. And when that happens, we're going to just hit a 10-yard out. Now, granted, that's a tough throw.
It was a great throw by Darnold.
Those two throws were great throws by Darnold. But like, because like, again, like if it's even slightly off, those are interceptions.
But you're right. Like the cushion's a lot. I saw a couple of people that were like, oh, Stingley's not even, going to walk up to a man on man. Like, how can I respect him as a corner? And I was thinking to myself, well, I don't think Stingley is purposefully doing that. He's being told to do that.
Yeah, he's been told to do that, So I think across the board, D'Amico was just Burke was just one step behind Kevin O'Connell. But I think if they played them again, let's say they play them again like in a couple of weeks, obviously they don't. Like I think they would, it'd be a completely different game because I felt like everything went the Vikings' way. Think about it. The first play of the game was like a first down.
Second play
tip. Interception. And mind you, Tank was wide open on the play that got tipped. Like, he was wide open.
Yeah, I remember I think you tweeted that. I saw that.
And it's like, and then, they take that down. They find a way on third down to get Eric Murray matched up with Justin Jefferson.
Oh, God.
Then the next drive is a bunch of nothing, and then like, they're able to go down, they're able to score. The only break they got was Dalton Schultz fumble. That should have been a fumble. But that was the only break. That was a fumble. Yeah, like he caught the ball, he tried to make a move like that was a fumble, but that's the only break they caught. Even the play where Sam throws up a lollipop, Derek Stingley and Bullock are right there.
Yeah, they collided.
And they collide and drop the pick.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It was just one of those games. That's why like I thought they were gonna lose anyway. But that I don't.
You did say that.
I don't.
Very early prediction.
I did. I don't think that this was a game that leaves me like, man, they got a lot of things to clean up. It's more like they got a few things to clean up. And once they clean those things up, it should be a better team. But I do think that these next 2 weeks are going to tell us everything we need to know. If they can't beat the Jaguars, Super Bowl, you forget about that.
Jaguars. Whoa.
Hey, man, anytime I can watch Trevor Lawrence struggle, I'm always happy. It's funny, like my disdain for Trevor is a lot different. It has a different feeling compared to like other like Texans fans. I just feel like he's overrated, and I just feel like with certain quarterbacks that look a certain way, they always get the benefit of the doubt.
Ooh.
Like, hey, how many people? There's so many people that are just waiting for Sam Darnold to become good, and just every time he has any type of moment, oh my God, he's amazing. But let Lamar have a bad game, right? Let Dak have a bad game. I just leave it at that. So watching Trevor be butt cheeks always brings me joy. Like I told you, it's so funny. Remember that throw in week 1? Oh my God, that was the best throw in the world. Oh my God. That's the only touchdown of the entire season, I think.
Okay. So I'm hoping next week that we can just laugh at Trevor Lawrence's failures.
He is 2-1 against the Texans in Houston. So
he is.
4 interceptions, 5 picks though. 4 touchdowns, 5 picks. Go ahead.
He made Damar Hamlin look like the top of the line corner last night.
That reminded me. I know. I mean, it's not the same, but it's similar. I remember in JUCO, 2015.
Glory days.
We were playing this theme called Feather River.
Sounds soft.
And Feather River, they were terrible. They had a kid go to Tennessee.
They have some deaf kids, blind kids?
No. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Stay with me, Sean. They had a kid at safety with one arm. And
was he good?
Well, it was like half an arm.
That's kind of ableist.
But we had a backup quarterback. He had all the talent in the world. His name was Goy. He could really sling it, but he got concussed in week 2. To me, he should have never said he got concussed because he never played again. But whatever. Yeah, no, the coach benched him for a tight end. Our coach was an absolute moron. But that's not here or there. He put a tight end at quarterback. Whatever. Like there would be times where like he would run power and have the quarterback lead block. So toss it and then have the quarterback lead block. But anyway, we're beating the what out of them. And Goy gets in there. He throws a pick to the one hand and safety. Hit him dead in the chest too. Boom, right in the chest. And we were just like, damn, Goy. Damn.
Shout out to that one-handed safety.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
what a legend.
Yeah, what a legend. What a legend.
All right. How do you see this one playing out against the Jaguars? Again, way too early prediction, but you were right last time.
I just don't see a scenario.
Spread is 6.5. Texans are 6.5 point favorites against a team that you said that Trevor Lawrence is 2-1 against.
At Houston, that is. But I don't know if they'll cover. Yeah, I don't think they'll cover, but I think they'll win by like a touchdown. Like they'll win by like 6. Mainly because like anybody that watched the Colts and Bears game, like when you watch that game, you're like, oh my God, these two teams stink, right? The Texans barely beat both of them. So like, like point differential does matter. Like I think that's one key way to look at how good a team is what their point differential is. And the Texans going into last week, where I think their point differential, if my math is correct, was 8. And obviously now it's like minus 19. So like, they haven't proven that they're the type of team that can like we saw the Bills did like yesterday. They're not that. They haven't proven that they can like really like beat the living what. And it's like methodical. Like the Bills blowout. It didn't feel like I remember the Texans beat the Browns and like, like they had a couple pick sixes. Pick sixes can throw things out of loop. The Bills were just like each drive touchdown. You know what I'm saying? The Texans aren't there yet. I think they could get there maybe one day, but right now they're not there yet. So, but I think they'll win. I think they'll win this.
Good, because the Bills loom large. They look like the best team in the AFC.
Exactly.
Oh, geez, that was crazy.
Exactly.